starting with sculpting her brows. She has a very beautiful brow shape. They're more round at the top, so I didn't really have to do a whole lot. But what I did decide to do, I decided to use the Refi Brow Pencil in dark and also the Refi Brow Pencil in medium. I used the medium to fill in the brows and the dark to outline the outer edges of the brow to give it a very crisp and clean structure. I didn't want to have anything too harsh, so I didn't add anything too far to the front of the brow. You want the brow to have a natural fade. Now, I also go in with concealer. This is to also help sculpt the brow as well as lay a base down for the eyeshadow. Now, I already prepped and primed her skin, and I also had her sit under the steamer for 5 minutes. So I already used the MAC 24-hour eyeshadow base, and the concealer applies wonderfully on top. It doesn't give any patchiness or anything. And the concealer that I am using NC50 for the front part of her brow. And I'm also doing a mixture of Pro Longwear concealer in NC50 and NC45 towards the tail of the brow so that I can give a very soft and gradient highlight on the brow. I usually don't take eyeshadow all the way to the top depending on the shape of the lid. And in her case, she has a very wide lid space, and I love when people have a lot of lid space, and I love when they have a very defined crease because you can see all of your artwork. She doesn't have a hooded lid or anything, so whenever I put her eyeshadow on, you will be able to see every piece of it, and it excites me to no end. Now I am using that 242 brush, and I'm putting that lighter concealer mixed with the NC50 on the edge of the brow. And the key is blending that product into the NC50 so that it has a gradient effect, because when you do that, it doesn't have those harsh lines of demarcation. It brings the look all the way together. Now I'm using a Smashbox blending brush, and I am lightly blending that color into the crease and up to the base of the brow. And I like to make sure that there is nothing left over. I like to blend out everything so that there are no streaks or there are no patches on the brow. I mean, not on the brow, but on the lid. Because if this is not smoothed out before you go into your eyeshadow, the eyeshadow is going to cling to that texture and it's not going to look good. So make sure that concealer is blended all the way out. And you don't want to blend it into the creases, because what happens when you put a lot of concealer on the lid and it gets in the crease, it's going to in turn cause the eyeshadow to crease, and that too does not look good. So I'm blending, avoiding letting that product puddle into the crease of her lid. And notice the way I'm holding the brush. You don't want to hold the blending brush too close to the tip of the brush, because it creates a harsher blend. So you want to have a nice amount of space between the tip of the brush and your hand, and that gives it it lets the brush do the work for you. It doesn't create those harsh lines, just give you a soft airbrush effect. Now I am using the Rosalia palette from MAC, and I'm using that peachy pinky color. It does go neutral on her lid. It's a very beautiful matte shade, and I'm using that as a transition color. And as you notice, I'm not putting a lot on the brush. I'm gradually adding, and that does take a lot longer to gradually add, but I would much rather gradually add because it's much easier to add than it is to take away. So I just gradually add the product there so that when I get the look and the effect that I want, I can just stop and move on to the next thing. Now with her lid, I was able to get a lot of color on there. So now I'm using the Makeup by Mario nude palette. This is the third one that came out on their holiday collection. And I'm using that deep brown, and I'm focusing mainly on the outer perimeter of her lid. And I don't want this color to be very heavy. I'm just building that color there for some contrast, because I'm actually going to go over it slightly with a shimmer tone color. So most of her lid is going to have a soft glow to it, but with that dark color lying underneath, it's going to still have that dimension, and it's not going to be so flat. And so I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, adding that darker brown color there and just building that dimension in the contours of her lid. And there is no real form of fashion that I do this with my brush. I just make sure I avoid going too high to where I'm at the base of the brow. But other than that, I just want to make sure that I get the product on there. And because this product is very easy to work with, I don't necessarily have to deal with a lot of fallout. So that's the great thing about this eyeshadow palette. And that's another thing that I love about Makeup by Mario formulas. I don't just sing praises or get excited because it's a certain brand or is associated with a celebrity. I care about whether the products are good or not. And this is a good product. Now I'm going back on the other side just to kind of balance her out. And as you notice, I'm using the same blending brush. I don't really care for using a lot of brushes to achieve a eye look. I'm going in with the shimmer on the lid, and I'm using the Makeup by Mario palette, and this is the number 2. And I'm using the exact same blending brush. And my reason for doing that is because when you use a blending brush, it naturally diffuses the product to the point to where it doesn't have like a heavy color payoff. And it's very beautiful as far as leaving a airbrushed effect. And then on top of that, as an artist, you want to make sure that you're maximizing your time and you're being very efficient with your tools and your product. You don't want to spend the whole day cleaning brushes because every person that you do their makeup for, you're using like 20 and 30 brushes. I would, as a general rule, especially for doing an eye look, try your best not to use anything more than 3 brushes max when it comes to doing eye looks. And as far as the face completely, try your best not to use any more than 5 or 6 because after that, it just kind of gets overwhelming. So now I'm going in with a lighter shade. It's another shimmer color in that Nude 2 palette by Makeup by Mario. And I am just going towards the tear duct and just building some gradients there to where it blends in and it fades into like that deeper golden tone that I love so much on her lid. And as you can see, I am just taking that same blending brush and I'm going from up above. And the importance of going up above after you place the color on the lid is when you go that direction from the top, you can actually reach the water line from the top, like her top water line. You can actually reach that with the brush. Because if you just blend from the bottom and from the side, you're gonna get the most of the lid, but you're still gonna miss that water line. So it's not just about tools, it's also about technique. Now I'm taking a warm brown shade and I'm just buffing over the lid so I can make sure that she doesn't have any harsh lines. I'm just blending everything in. And I'm taking a little more of that shimmer tone and I'm going into the center of her lids because that's where we want all of the light to catch. We want it to catch in the center of the eyelid. So I'm just gradually adding that color there. And I'm still using, again, that same blending brush. I cannot express the importance of maximizing your tools. Now I'm going in with an eyeliner. This is by e.l.f. Makeup. And this is the Jane Atkins or whatever. Whoever the Kardashian stylist was, is her liner. I absolutely love these eyeliners. I wish they would make this a permanent liner because it's so creamy, so easy to work with. However, it doesn't like get all smudgy and crap. And it's cheap, it's affordable. Now, excuse me, I am using the Brush Black eyeliner at the top. It's a 24-hour eyeliner. And I love the fact that it's a brush tip pen. It makes the product so much easier to work with. And I'm not going to do any wings or anything like that. This is just going to be a simple, soft glam. Nothing too dramatic. So I'm not going to use a wing. Now I'm going in with my Smashbox angled blush brush. And even though this is a brush for powder, I love the way this brush applies foundations and cream. The slant gives it, a nice, I don't know how to explain it. it just hits the face, especially around the cheekbones, so well with the slant of the brush. And I'm using NC50 Pro Longwear Nourishing Foundation by MAC Cosmetics. This foundation has a satin finish, so it gives the skin like a very nice glow. And I'm all about the glow over here. I will do a matte look upon request, but you can have makeup that's long lasting and long wearing and still have a natural glow. It doesn't have to have like an oily or a greasy finish, and that's what I love about this foundation. As for the primer that I use underneath, I used a mixture of two primers. I used the Milk Makeup, the Hydro Grip, and I used the MAC Studio Fix Matte Fine Primer on the nose and on her forehead. Those are the areas that she has the cause for major concern. And as her moisturizer, I used the Softening Lotion, which is a spray moisturizer. I did a review on it a couple years ago, lasting impressions video, and this stuff takes your makeup game to a different level. If you like for your clients to have a natural glow and you want the product to just melt in the skin, I cannot recommend this product enough. So I'm just going back in and I'm blending out all of that foundation. And now I'm going in with a NC45 concealer. This is the Pro Longwear concealer. And I'm using the same little drop concealer I had earlier. This stuff is so thick, you don't need a lot. It's like Louisiana hot sauce. One drop literally does it. So I am highlighting. I'm a little different the way I highlight. I don't go all the way under the eyes, because what happens is when you just put a lot of product under the eyes, it puddles and then it creases and then eventually it cracks if you try to bake it with powder. So I am just highlighting the forehead, the bridge of the nose, and I'm not really doing much with her nose because her nose is like perfect. And I'm also going on the side of the mouth with the NC45 concealer. It doesn't have to be even on both sides, because once we blend it in, it's all gonna make sense. But when you put the concealer on the side of the mouth, not only does it help mask smile lines, it also gives the lips like a natural plumping lift. So you don't necessarily have to go under the syringe or anything. It's just the way you place your product can give your face like a completely different structure. So now I'm going in with this Real Techniques. I think this is a a contour brush or something like that, but I love it. I have several of those, and just the density and the texture of the bristles are perfect. This brush doesn't create any streaks or any patches. So I'm going in with that brush and I'm blending out that concealer. And as you notice, I blend the concealer under her eyes, but I'm not placing it under her eyes. It's all about technique, because if you want to highlight under the eyes, that's completely fine, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's where you have to concentrate all of your product. So I'm blending it upward and also blending around her forehead and her nose. And also take to note, this is strictly based on her face shape and the look that we want to accomplish in the end. You don't necessarily have to use any concealer at all if you don't want to highlight. It just depends on you and what your preferences are. Now I'm just completing that blend under her eye, and as you'll notice with me blending the concealer in, there is a subtle brightness. There is nothing that's dramatic or anything like that. It just gives her a subtle brightness when it got a natural finish to it. So I really love the way that turned out. I'm also blending on the other side just to make sure there are no lines of demarcation. And I'm also blending around the chin. So the next step, I'm going to use this powder. This is the NC47 Studio Fix powder. And I'm using that to set, because this is a powder that you actually can set with. As long as you have like the right shade, you're good. And even though everything else is NC50, this particular powder is NC47 because the NC47 Studio Fix powder is actually deeper than the NC50. I know it's weird. It doesn't make much sense to me either. But that is what I'm using to set her face. Now I'm going into the contours with Charlotte Tilbury. It's the number 3 bronzer. It's the I think it's their deepest shade. And I love this bronzer because it does have a cool tone to it. So you can either bronze or you can contour or do both with it. I really love this product, and it just has a just very airbrush effect to it. It doesn't have any heavy shimmer or anything to the bronzer. It just looks like a natural contour in the face. And it's just such a beautiful product. It works well with every other foundation that I have. I do like my products to kind of mix with each other. I don't want to feel bullied into buying a complete brand because the products don't work well with others. Now I'm using NARS Exhibit A. This is a bright red blush, but do not be afraid of bright blushes. They look amazing on deeper skin tones. It's giving her the right amount of warmth that she needs. The key is to use it with a light hand. A bright blush is a brown girl's best friend. Now I'm going in with Cheeky Bronze. This is a mineralized skin finish. And I'm bringing a subtle, very, very subtle amount of glow to the skin. Because I use steamers and skincare. I do a whole process before I even sit my client in the chair for makeup. So they're going to naturally already have a glow. So I don't use a lot of highlight on the face because it could actually be too much because their glow is already from within, B. What more do you need me to do, boo? So now I am going in with a chestnut liner, one of my favorite liners. Don't ever take it away from me. I will cry. And I'm lining her lips. She is so beautiful. Like, this girl is gorgeous. And I'm just lining on the lips, and I'm kind of going a little thicker and kind of feeling towards the center. I want the lip to have a lot of structure and definition to it. And we're going for a neutral lip today. So I'm just filling that lip in with the chestnut lip liner and using the powder puff at the bottom to keep from touching her face and messing up the product. And also the powder puff does help steady your hand. I'm left-handed, as you probably may have noticed by now. So I always need something to steady my hand when I'm doing makeovers. And it also, believe it or not, the steadier your hand is, the quicker you can move and the quicker you can get your client in and out of the door. So I'm just building the structure of the lip around the Cupid's bow. And I'm not lining too heavily because I don't want it to have that, I don't like that thick, harsh line. I don't know. I mean, to each his own, but that's kind of the reason why lip liners have such a bad reputation, is because sometimes people just like put too much lip liner on and they don't blend it out, and it don't look good. I guess that's the best way to put it. So I just want to avoid that. Now I'm using the Danessa Myricks Cream Color Fix. And this is, I think it's Rose. And I'm just having her just blot that and rub it into her lip. And you see how when that pink mixes with that lip liner, it just gives it a natural fleshy pink lip. And I'm just going in with a little extra product. I didn't add any more from the tube. I just used what was left on the brush just to add a little more to the lip and a little more liner. Because when she did rub it in, we did kind of lose a little lip liner, but that's okay. We were able to fix it. So I'm just adding some more structure into the lip and keeping it more pink at the center. And you can have your client just kind of block the product in a little more because this does dry down to a matte finish, but it's not too drying. So that's what I do love about the product. Now I'm using the Denisa Marix Gloss Color Fix. And this is just a lip gloss. You can use it for your lips, and you can also use it as a eye gloss or a highlight on the skin. It's just a matter of preference for the person who's using it. And I'm using that same brush, and I'm just blending that product all over the lip. And the results were absolutely stunning. So the next step, because I'm just weird like this, I do my mascara. Like, my mascara and my setting sprays are like the last thing that I do. So when I finish getting this lip together, that's going to be my next step. For my mascara, I'm using the Idol Lash. And I like to use these Real Techniques, the metal brow groomers. I like to put mascara on with like a comb. And the reason why I like to do this, it separates the lashes and it coats the lashes, like the whole lash, and it looks beautiful. That is a trick I recommend you all try. If you have like a lash groomer, especially a metal one, use that to put on your mascara, and I guarantee you are going to love the results. Now, it's going to feel a little weird having a little comb come towards your eyes, but you're going to love it. Now I am setting her with the Fix Plus. It's important not to spray directly onto the skin because it comes out too harsh, it messes up the makeup, and it makes your face greasy. So we don't want to do that. But she is all done. This is the final look, and I really enjoyed her. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe. If you have any questions about how I achieve this look, go off in the comments. And until then, I will see you next time, boo sugars. Disregard the mess in the back. Love you. Bye.